At Thanksgiving, my future son-in-law raised his glass and thanked me for trusting him with my only daughter. 30 seconds earlier, in Portuguese, he had told his mother that Lily was the softest road into Cedar Hollow, and that after the wedding, my signature would turn 42 acres of North Carolina land into the guarantee their failing hotel company desperately needed. His mother called me a carpenter with property but no breeding. His father said I would sign because widowers were terrified of losing their daughters. Lucas laughed and replied, "Daniel already thinks I'm the son he never had. He'll agree to anything if Lily smiles while she asks." They were sitting at my dining table, eating turkey I had cooked, drinking wine from my cellar, and discussing how quickly they could move me into the smallest cottage once they controlled the farm. My daughter sat between them wearing her late mother's silver locket, smiling because she believed two families were finally becoming one. They believed I understood only English. They were wrong. I had spoken Portuguese for 34 years. I set down my carving knife, smiled across the candles, and let Lucas begin the speech that was supposed to end with me signing away the life my wife and I had built. My name is Daniel Harper. I was 58 years old when this happened, a widower, a father, and the owner of Cedar Hollow Farm outside Asheville, North Carolina. Calling Cedar Hollow a farm was technically correct and emotionally incomplete. The property covered 42 acres of rolling pasture, hardwood forest, creek beds, and old stone walls left by families who had worked the land long before my name appeared on any document. Near the road stood a weathered white farmhouse with a wraparound porch. Behind it sat a restored timber barn, 6 guest cottages, a woodworking studio, an open-air pavilion, and an orchard my wife, Anna, planted during the year our daughter learned to walk. Cedar Hollow hosted small weddings, craft retreats, school groups, grief workshops, and seasonal community dinners. It produced enough income to maintain itself and support several employees, but it was never designed to become a luxury resort. Anna and I wanted a place where people could hear themselves think. We believe beauty should calm people, rather than remind them what they could not afford. I was not born into land or money. My father repaired municipal water systems in western Pennsylvania. My mother worked nights at a nursing home. At 22, after 2 years of community college and several construction jobs, I joined an international restoration contractor that repaired historic buildings and infrastructure. That work took me to Brazil for almost 5 years. I lived outside Belo Horizonte, spent months in Salvador, and later worked on a church restoration project near Recife. I learned Portuguese because supervisors shouted instructions in Portuguese, carpenters told jokes in Portuguese, and the elderly woman who rented me a room refused to slow down for an American. I learned through mistakes, meals, arguments, job site songs, and conversations held on plastic chairs after 12-hour shifts. By the time I returned to the United States, I could read contracts, argue about measurements, and understand insults delivered beneath polite smiles. Then life moved on. I started a historic restoration company near Asheville. I married Anna. We bought Cedar Hollow when it was an abandoned apple farm with a collapsing barn and a farmhouse full of raccoon damage. Nobody in North Carolina cared that I spoke Portuguese. It became an old tool stored in the back of my mind, still sharp, rarely needed. Anna knew. A few former coworkers knew. Lily had heard me use it twice as a child during calls with friends overseas, but she was too young to remember. I never concealed it intentionally. It simply stopped being relevant until a family from Miami decided language could function like a locked room. Anna was a pediatric nurse before Cedar Hollow demanded most of our time. She could identify a frightened child before the child began crying. She noticed adults other people overlooked, and she had a talent for making guests feel welcomed without performing hospitality like a sales technique. We were married for 27 years. Not perfectly. We argued about money, workloads, Lily's curfew, and my habit of beginning projects before estimating how many weekends they would steal. But we argued inside a shared life, not for control of it. Anna died from pancreatic cancer when Lily was 19. The illness lasted 11 months, long enough for hope to become exhausting, short enough that the ending still felt impossible. During Anna's final week, she asked me to promise 3 things. Keep Cedar Hollow from becoming something loud and empty. Do not treat Lily like glass because she had lost her mother. And never confuse a person needing you with that person loving you. That last one sounds specific, I said. She managed a small smile. You like being useful too much. You married me for the shelves. I married you despite the shelves. She died 2 days later with Lily and me beside her. For years afterward, I remembered the first 2 promises clearly, and treated the third like a sentence intended for someone else. Lily was 29 when she became engaged to Lucas Vale. She had inherited Anna's instinct for noticing children who were struggling, but she expressed it through language rather than medicine. Lily worked as a pediatric speech-language pathologist in Charlotte, supporting children with developmental delays, neurological injuries, feeding challenges, and communication disorders. She was patient without being passive, intelligent without needing to announce it, and far more independent than I wanted to admit. Losing Anna had pulled us close, perhaps too close. Lily called me after difficult work days, visited Cedar Hollow twice a month, and asked my opinion on decisions she had already made. I looked forward to those calls more than was healthy. She understood the difference between loneliness and solitude, but I am not certain I did. She dated occasionally after graduate school. Most relationships ended quietly. One man wanted her to move to Atlanta and did not understand why Cedar Hollow mattered. Another seemed kind until he began treating her work as a hobby that should adjust around his career. I tried not to interfere. When she asked for advice, I offered too much. When she did not ask, I worried privately and repaired fences. Lucas entered her life at a charity fundraiser held in one of Charlotte's boutique hotels. He was 32, handsome without appearing vain, fluent in several languages, and skilled at making attention feel exclusive. His family was Brazilian-American. His parents, Renato and Marcela Vale, had moved from Sao Paulo to Florida when Lucas was 14. They built Vale House Hospitality, a small collection of stylish hotels and private event properties in Miami, Palm Beach, and Savannah. At least, that was how Lucas described it. He worked as the company's director of guest experience and expansion. He traveled frequently, wore understated expensive clothing, and spoke about hospitality as though hotels were instruments for creating human connection rather than businesses selling rooms. Lily admired his warmth. He remembered details. He sent lunch to her clinic during difficult weeks. He learned the names of the children she spoke about without violating confidentiality. He called me before their fourth date and asked whether Cedar Hollow offered public tours because he wanted to understand the place that had shaped her. I found the call respectful. Looking back, I can see that he had begun studying us before I realized an examination was occurring. Lucas first visited Cedar Hollow during apple season. He arrived wearing boots expensive enough to have never touched mud. Within 10 minutes, he had removed his jacket and helped an employee move folding tables before a community dinner. He asked intelligent questions about the barn restoration, cottage occupancy, property taxes, and event capacity. At the time, I interpreted those questions as interest in my life. Later, I understood he had been assessing the property. He praised Anna's orchard. He listened while Lily described learning to ride her bicycle along the gravel drive. He asked to see my workshop and ran one hand over a walnut dining table I was restoring for a library. "You can feel when something was made to last," he said. That was exactly the kind of sentence I wanted a man marrying my daughter to understand. He knew it. I liked Lucas quickly, and I was embarrassed by how much that approval mattered. I had no son. I had employees I loved, younger craftspeople I mentored, and friends who had become brothers through decades of work. But Lucas occupied a different space. He asked me about Anna. He wanted to learn how to sharpen hand tools. He helped repair a cottage window during a storm and refused payment. Afterward, we drank bourbon on the workshop steps while Lily slept inside the farmhouse. "I want you to know I'm serious about her," he said. "Then be serious when life becomes boring." "I will. Anyone can look devoted on vacation." He nodded. "My father says marriage is a business partnership with affection." I laughed. "That sounds romantic." I disagree with him. I believe Lucas was distancing himself from his family's colder values. In reality, he was telling me the truth while allowing me to hear the version I preferred. The engagement happened 11 months later beneath the old oak near the orchard. Lucas arranged candles along the stone wall and hired a photographer without telling Lily. He asked me for Anna's silver locket, which Lily wore on important days, and placed it inside the ring box. "I want her mother included," he said. I nearly cried. He proposed at sunset. Lily said yes before he finished speaking. The photographs were beautiful. Lucas posted one with the caption, "Where two histories become one future." Marcella reposted it and wrote, "Our family grows." I wanted to believe her. The first warning arrived during the engagement celebration in Miami. Renato and Marcella hosted 60 people at the rooftop bar of one of their hotels. I expected warmth. What I received was evaluation disguised as hospitality. Marcella greeted me in English, kissed both cheeks, and said, "So this is the famous craftsman father." Craftsman was accurate. Her tone made it sound like a charming limitation. Renato shook my hand and asked whether Cedar Hollow was mainly a wedding barn or whether the land had development potential. We had known each other for 12 seconds. "It has the potential to remain exactly what it is," I replied. He smiled. "Sentimental. I respect that." He did not. Throughout the evening, people asked what I built, what Cedar Hollow was worth, whether Asheville zoning allowed hotel expansion, and why Lily had chosen a clinical career when she could join Vale House's charitable foundation. Nobody asked what Lily loved about her work. They asked whether she planned to continue after marriage. Marcella introduced her as our future daughter, who will bring such warmth to the family brand. Lily laughed because she thought it was affectionate. I saw her grip the stem of her glass more tightly. Later, while photographs were being arranged, a coordinator placed Renato, Marcella, Lucas's sister Camila, and Lily beneath a floral arch. I stepped toward them. Marcella touched my arm. "First, the Vale family." I looked at Lily. Her smile faltered. Lucas said, "Then we'll do everyone." They took 11 photographs before I was called. The next morning, Marcella posted the first image with the caption, "Our complete family celebrating the next generation." I appeared nowhere in the carousel. Lily called me upset. "I'm sorry. You didn't arrange it." I should have said something. "Yes." She became quiet. "Do you dislike them?" It was too early to say yes and too dishonest to say no. "I don't know them. Mom would have handled that picture differently. Your mother would have taken over the photographer." Lily laughed through the hurt. The moment passed. The pattern did not. Wedding planning created hundreds of small opportunities for the Vales to show Lily where she ranked. The ceremony would take place at Cedar Hollow because it had been Anna's dream to see Lily married beneath the orchard trees. I offered the property without charge. I agreed to close the cottages for an entire weekend, losing regular booking income. My staff would be paid, food and rentals would be professional, and nothing would depend on unpaid labor. Lucas thanked me. Marcella responded by describing the farm as a blank canvas we can elevate. She hired a Miami event designer who proposed covering the barn beams with white fabric, installing imported trees over the orchard, building temporary marble-look flooring across the grass, and hiding the workshop behind decorative walls. "Guests should feel transported," she said. "They traveled here intentionally," I replied. Marcella laughed as though I had made a charming joke. Lily wanted wildflowers, long wooden tables, Anna's locket, and a small ceremony. The guest list grew from 80 to 220 because Renato said business relationships were part of family life. A private welcome dinner was added for Vale House partners. A Sunday brunch was added for guests from Florida and Brazil. My farmhouse kitchen became a proposed catering command center. The cottages were assigned before anyone asked me. Renato and Marcella took the largest. Camila wanted the one nearest the orchard for photographs. Lucas's business partner needed my private office for remote meetings. When I objected, Marcella said, "Daniel, once the families join, we must stop thinking in terms of yours and ours." The sentence sounded generous only if you ignored whose property was being redistributed. Lily pushed back occasionally. Then Lucas softened the resistance. "My parents are intense because they're excited. They show love through planning. This is how Brazilian families work. They've hosted international events for years. Let them handle the complicated parts." Culture became a shield used selectively. Any objection risked making Lily look provincial or intolerant. She began apologizing before expressing preferences. "I know your mother has more experience, but I still want the wildflowers. I know the Vale guests expect formality, but Dad's orchard matters. I understand a locket isn't traditional with this neckline, but it belonged to Mom." Marcella suggested replacing Anna's locket with Vale family emeralds during the ceremony. "The necklace represents the family she is entering," she said. "My mother's locket represents the family I came from," Lily replied. Marcella smiled. "Of course, perhaps at the rehearsal." Lucas said nothing until they were alone. Then he told Lily she had embarrassed his mother. I learned this because Lily called me afterward. "Was I rude?" "No." "You weren't there." "Did you raise your voice?" "No." "Did you insult her?" "No." "Did you say you wanted to wear your mother's necklace at your own wedding?" "Yes." "Then no." She began crying. "I don't want every decision to become a test of loyalty." "It shouldn't." Lucas says marriage means choosing the new family first. Marriage means building a new family without pretending the old one died. The words came out harder than I intended. Lily heard the fear beneath them. Dad, I'm not leaving you. I know. Do you? I did not answer quickly enough. She sighed. This is why I hesitate to tell you things. You turn my conflict with them into whether I'm abandoning you. That accusation was also true. I apologized. Afterward, I tried to separate my loneliness from legitimate warning signs. That distinction became more difficult because Lucas and his parents understood exactly how to use my fear. They praised my importance while reducing my authority. Renato called me the foundation beneath Lily. Marcella said the wedding could not happen without my generosity. Lucas asked my opinion privately, then followed his parents publicly. I was made essential to labor and optional to decisions. The first dinner where they spoke freely in Portuguese occurred 3 months before the wedding at a restaurant in Asheville. I had reserved a private room overlooking the Blue Ridge Mountains because Renato and Marcella were visiting to finalize plans. Lily wanted the evening to feel like a new beginning after weeks of tension. I selected a local restaurant known for seasonal food, handmade furniture, and views across a horse pasture. The wine came from a vineyard 20 miles away. Marcella examined the label as though local meant unfinished. Is there no Bordeaux? She asked. There is, I said. I thought you might enjoy something from here. How educational? Renato asked whether I still performed construction personally, restoration and furniture work. At your age? My hands haven't retired. Marcella looked at my nails. How authentic. Lily changed the subject. Small insults arrived throughout the meal. My pronunciation of a Portuguese dish listed on the menu. My truck, the farmhouse bathrooms, the use of mason jars at weddings. None of it mattered enough to challenge without appearing insecure. Then Marcella looked toward a photograph on the restaurant wall, showing an oak reading bench I had built for a local children's library. The restaurant displayed work from regional craftspeople. My name appeared on a small brass plaque beneath it. Marcella did not look closely enough to see. She leaned toward Renato and spoke in Portuguese. This is the kind of heavy rural furniture Daniel makes. It looks like something rescued from a flood. Renato replied. Americans call any damaged wood heritage. They laughed quietly. I continued eating. Lucas glanced at me once, checking whether I had reacted. I asked him in English whether the fish was good. He relaxed. The conversation shifted. Then Marcella criticized Lily's dress in Portuguese. She is pretty, but she does not understand how to present herself. After the wedding, Camila can help. Renato said Lily's clinic work would become inconvenient if Lucas relocated to Miami. Marcella replied that children's therapy was a sweet profession for a young woman, but not suitable for the wife of a hospitality executive. Lucas did not defend her. He said, she will resist for a few months, then she'll enjoy not needing to work. Lily sat beside him, unaware, discussing wedding invitations with Camila through text. My body became very still. Insulting me was one thing. Rewriting my daughter's future while holding her hand was another. Then Renato asked Lucas whether the farm papers were ready. Lucas said their advisors were preparing a family hospitality partnership. Renato asked whether the bank had approved the structure. Lucas replied, if Daniel signs the guarantee and Lily becomes co-manager after marriage, yes. Marcella asked whether I would hesitate. Lucas laughed. He wants Lily happy so badly he'll sign anything she brings him. He already treats me like the son he never had. Renato said, a lonely father is the easiest father. Marcella looked toward me and smiled. And he is desperate for our approval. It's almost sad. I held my coffee cup carefully because my first instinct was to throw it against the wall. Lucas switched to English and asked, you doing okay, Dan? Perfect, I said, just listening. His face remained relaxed. Long day? Educational. I paid the bill. I tipped the server. I shook Renato's hand and thanked Marcella for coming. In the parking lot, Lily hugged me. Thank you for trying. Always. They like you more than you think. The sentence nearly broke me. Get home safely. I sat in my truck after they left and replayed every word. The farm papers, the guarantee, the plan for Lily to stop working, the assumption that I would sign because loneliness had made me predictable. I could have called Lily immediately. I could have told her everything. I almost did. Then I imagined how it would sound. Your fiancé's family insulted us in Portuguese, and conveniently, I understood every word though I never mentioned speaking it. They are plotting to use the farm. but I cannot explain exactly how. Lucas will deny it. Renato will call it cultural misunderstanding. Marcella will cry. Lily will feel forced to choose between the man she loves and a father already afraid of losing her. My anger would become their evidence. I did something I later had to apologize for. I remained silent. Not because I wanted revenge. Not entirely. I wanted certainty strong enough that Lily would not have to decide whose interpretation felt kinder. I called Rosa Almeida, an old friend from my Brazil years who now worked in hospitality finance in Atlanta. We had remained in occasional contact. Her first question, after hearing the restaurant conversation, was simple. Has Lily seen financial records from Vale House? I doubt it. Then do not accuse. Ask questions. Can you check whether the company is stable? Public filings and industry information, yes. Private accounts, no. That's enough. Within a week, Rosa found what the Vales had hidden beneath polished photographs. Vale House Hospitality was not an empire. It consisted of 2 hotels they controlled, 1 property managed for another investor, and a Savannah project that had stalled after construction costs rose. Their Palm Beach hotel carried significant debt. A planned acquisition had collapsed. Renato had personally guaranteed several obligations. Lucas's expansion venture had lost money. None of that made them evil. Businesses struggle. Families recover. The deception mattered because they were preparing to use Lily and Cedar Hollow without disclosing the risk. The proposed family hospitality partnership arrived 10 days later. Lucas sent it with a cheerful message. Nothing urgent, Dan. Just a framework that lets Cedar Hollow benefit from the Vale network after the wedding. Our team made it simple. It was not simple. I could read construction contracts, leases, and ordinary business documents. This agreement contained enough polished language to make control look like collaboration. I called my longtime accountant, Nora Patel, and an attorney who had handled Cedar Hollow's land matters, Stephen Grant. I told them I wanted the meaning in ordinary sentences. Stephen returned the document the next afternoon with 4 pages highlighted. This allows Vale House to use Cedar Hollow as support for financing, he said. If their expansion fails, your property may be exposed. Maybe? The language is deliberately broad. Does Lily receive ownership? She receives a management title and future interest that depends on the partnership remaining solvent. Meaning? She receives responsibility and the appearance of ownership. Lucas's family receives control over bookings, revenue, development decisions, and financing. Could they move me out? Not directly. They could make remaining financially and operationally impossible. Nora added, they're not asking to join Cedar Hollow. They're asking Cedar Hollow to rescue Vale House. I thought about Anna's first promise. Do not let the farm become something loud and empty. We say no. Stephen nodded. Quietly? Not yet. I hated how much satisfaction entered those 2 words. Part of me wanted Lucas to discover, in front of the people whose approval he valued, that the lonely carpenter had heard every insult. That part of me was angry and proud. Another part feared Lily would defend him if confronted privately. I convinced myself public certainty protected her. The truth was more complicated. I wanted witnesses because the Vales had already begun building a story in which I was controlling, unsophisticated, and emotionally dependent on Lily. I did not trust private truth to survive their public performance. Over the next month, I played the role they had written for me. I asked naive questions about the agreement. I said financial language overwhelmed me. I praised Vale House. I agreed that Cedar Hollow could benefit from international guests. I invited Renato and Marcella to stay in our largest cottage during future visits. They relaxed. Underestimation makes careless people generous with information. Marcella complained in Portuguese about the cottage furnishings while standing 10 feet from me. Renato took calls on the porch about extending debt deadlines. Lucas told his father that once the agreement was signed, they could announce a Cedar Hollow luxury renovation before asking my permission because public momentum would make refusal embarrassing. Marcella suggested giving me a ceremonial title and keeping me occupied with woodworking demonstrations. He needs to feel useful, she said. Men like him become difficult when they realize decisions have moved beyond them. Lucas replied, Lily can manage him. Every word hurt, but Lucas's use of Lily hurt most. He did not speak about persuading his future wife. He spoke about deploying her. Their manipulation of her continued in English too. Marcella sent revised wedding invitations reading, The Vale family welcomes you to the marriage of Lucas and Lily. My name did not appear. Neither did Anna's. When Lily objected, Lucas said the wording reflected the family hosting international guests. "The wedding is at Dad's home," she said. "It's not a home for that weekend. It's a venue. To him, it is home. Which is exactly why your father needs to separate emotion from business if Cedar Hollow is going to grow." Lily called me afterward. "Would it hurt you if the invitation didn't name you?" Yes. Silence. She had expected me to minimize it. "I'm sorry. Thank you for asking. Lucas says it's old-fashioned to list parents. Then list none. His mother already printed samples. Samples can be recycled." She laughed weakly. "You make everything sound simple. It is simple, not easy." The invitation was changed to list both families. Marcella described the compromise as evidence she was learning American sensitivity. Another time, she created a rehearsal dinner seating chart, placing me beside vendors near the barn entrance, because Renato and she needed to host the Vail business table. Lily moved me beside her. Lucas accused her of allowing me to create drama around chairs. She called me crying. I said, "A chair is not just a chair when people keep using it to explain where you belong. What am I supposed to do? Decide whether you feel more like yourself around him or less." She did not answer. I should have told her then. Instead, I waited because the financial agreement was scheduled to be signed at Thanksgiving. The Vails proposed the timing. Both families would already be at Cedar Hollow for a planning weekend. Renato called the signing a blessing before the wedding season. Marcella wanted photographs. Lucas told Lily it would be a symbolic joining of the families, not a business event. She asked whether I was comfortable. "I want everyone to understand what they're signing," I said. "Stephen will prepare a plain language version." Lucas hesitated. "Our attorneys already completed it. Mine will make it easier for me." He agreed because he believed my attorney would simplify the same agreement rather than expose it. Thanksgiving morning, Cedar Hollow woke beneath the first hard frost of the season. The orchard branches were bare. Smoke rose from the pavilion chimney. Lily arrived early to help me cook, though catering staff handled most of the meal. She stood in Anna's old apron, chopping herbs at the farmhouse counter. For an hour, we were simply father and daughter. No veils, no wedding plan, no hidden language. "Are you happy?" I asked. She continued chopping. "About what?" "That's not a happy answer." "I love him." "Different question." She set down the knife. "Sometimes I feel like I'm auditioning for his family. But Lucas says the first year of joining cultures is difficult." "Do you feel like he's joining yours?" Her eyes filled. "He loves Cedar Hollow. I asked whether he is joining your life." "Why are you asking now?" "Because after today, decisions become harder to undo. The partnership, the marriage." She stared. "Do you know something?" This was the moment. I could have told her privately before anyone arrived. I nearly did. Then tires sounded on the gravel drive. Marcella's voice carried across the porch. The moment closed. My silence after Lily's direct question became one of my deepest regrets. I told myself I needed the documents and witnesses together. In truth, I was afraid she would ask me not to expose Lucas publicly, and I did not want to surrender the confrontation I had planned. That was not pure protection. It was anger wearing a father's coat. The guests arrived throughout the afternoon. My sister Rebecca and her husband, Anna's older brother, Lily's college friends, several Cedar Hollow employees, Renato, Marcella, Camila, and 2 Vail business associates who had been introduced as close family friends. 31 people gathered around joined tables beneath the pavilion's timber beams. Wild greenery, candles, and old pottery decorated the room. Marcella had suggested replacing everything with white roses and gold chargers. Lily said no. She wore Anna's locket. Marcella wore the Vail emeralds and mentioned twice that they would still be available for the wedding if Lily reconsidered. The seating chart placed Renato and Marcella near the center, with Lucas and Lily beside them. My card sat at the head because the meal took place on my property. Marcella looked displeased. "Daniel should sit beside his sister so the engaged couple can anchor the table," she whispered in Portuguese. Renato replied, "Let him have the chair. In an hour, it will be the only authority he keeps." Lucas smiled into his water. I heard. I carved turkey. I welcomed guests. I thanked the staff. I spoke about gratitude without choking on the word. During dinner, the Vails performed warmth. Renato praised local craftsmanship. Marcella complimented the farm's authenticity. Camila asked Lily whether she planned to keep the cottages rustic after the partnership. Lily said, What partnership changes are you talking about? Camila glanced toward Lucas. The renovation vision. Lucas said quickly, nothing is decided. I watched Lily absorb the answer. Another small exclusion. After dinner, Lucas squeezed her hand and stood with a champagne glass. I want to thank Daniel for opening Cedar Hollow and his heart to us. Families are not created by blood or geography. They are created when people trust one another with the future. Applause moved around the table. Lily looked toward me, hopeful. Lucas continued. Tonight our families will sign a simple partnership ensuring Cedar Hollow remains protected, grows responsibly, and one day belongs to the next generation. More applause. Marcella dabbed her eyes. Renato opened a leather folder. In Portuguese, he murmured, "Get the signature before Daniel begins telling stories." Lucas replied, "He wants the emotional moment. Let him speak first." I stood. Lucas is right about one thing. Families are built through trust. He smiled. They're also revealed by what people say when they believe the person they're using cannot understand them. The room became quiet. Renato's hand stopped on the folder. Marcella looked at Lucas. I continued in Portuguese. For 3 months, you have called my daughter manageable, provincial, emotionally hungry, and useful. You have called me lonely, desperate, simple, and predictable. You have mocked my work while planning to use it as collateral for debts you never disclosed. You have discussed moving me out of my own home, ending Lily's career, and turning Cedar Hollow into the rescue plan for a hotel company already failing. Marcella's face emptied of color. Renato stared at me. Lucas looked as if the floor had shifted. I changed back to English. I understood every word. Nobody moved. Lily looked from me to Lucas. You speak Portuguese? Yes. Since when? Before you were born. Hurt crossed her face before she understood the larger revelation. Why didn't you tell me? I should have. Lucas stood. This is insane. You've been secretly listening to private conversations? You held them at my table, in my house, beside my daughter. They were family conversations, about using my daughter. Marcella recovered first. Daniel, languages contain nuance. You may speak Portuguese, but you do not understand how Brazilian families tease. I looked at her. Was moving Lily out of her profession a joke? We discussed possibilities. Was describing her as the road into Cedar Hollow affectionate? Lucas turned toward his mother. Stop. Lily's face had gone pale. What did you call me? Lily, he's presenting fragments. What did you call me? Lucas swallowed. Predictable. Why? Because you care about your father's approval. That isn't what I heard, I said. You said she wanted a complete family so badly that she would accept anything after marriage rather than admit she had made a mistake. Lily stared at him. Did you say that? I was under pressure. Did you? Yes, but not the way he's making it sound. What way does it sound? Like I don't love you. Do you? Of course. Then why were you planning my job without me? I was discussing what life in Miami could look like. You told him I would resist for a few months and then enjoy not working. He looked toward me as though I had committed the greater betrayal by remembering accurately. This was private. Lily laughed once without humor. My future was private from me? Renato stood. Enough. Daniel has misunderstood a financial arrangement and chosen to humiliate us because he fears losing control of his daughter. I placed the plain language summary on the table. This is not my interpretation. The agreement allows Vale House to use Cedar Hollow to support its financing. If your company fails, this property is exposed. You receive control over bookings, development, revenue, and management. Lily receives a title. I receive ceremonial importance until remaining here becomes inconvenient. One of Renato's business associates lowered his eyes. My sister Rebecca began reading the summary. Is this true? Renato replied. All partnerships contain shared risk. Did you disclose your hotel debt? I asked. Vale House's finances are private. You wanted my land to stop being private. Marcella said. We intended to create something international. Cedar Hollow is underused. One of my longtime employees, Josie, spoke from the far end. We host more than 100 community events and retreats a year. Marcella looked surprised that an employee had spoken. I mean financially underused. Exactly, I said. You saw land. We saw purpose. Lucas stepped toward Lily. Please don't let him turn this into a choice between us. You already did, she said. You told your family I would manage him. I meant you understand him. You meant I could pressure him. That's not fair. Would you have married me if Dad rented this property and had no land? The question landed harder than anything I had prepared. Lucas answered too slowly. That is hypothetical. Lily removed the engagement ring. Marcella stood abruptly. Do not make a permanent decision during a manipulated emotional scene. Lily looked toward her. You wanted me to remove my mother's locket because it did not represent the family I was entering. She touched the silver chain. Now I understand. You weren't inviting me into a family. You were pricing what came with me. That is offensive, Marcella said. Good. Lily placed the ring beside Lucas's untouched dessert plate. Be offended somewhere else. Lucas's face collapsed. Lily, I love you. You may love something about me. Her voice shook but remained clear. Maybe you love how I make you feel. Maybe you love that I believe the best version of everything you said. Maybe part of you genuinely loves me. But you let your parents plan my career, my home, my father's property, and our marriage, while laughing about how easily I could be managed. That love is not safe. Anna's third promise returned to me. Never confuse a person needing you with that person loving you. Lucas reached for Lily's hand. She stepped back. Renato closed the folder. You have made a mistake you will regret when the emotion passes. The agreement was never being signed, I said. Cedar Hollow will not guarantee your debt, host a Vail luxury expansion, or become part of your business. And the wedding? Marcella asked. There is no wedding, Lily replied. Her voice broke on the final word. The room became painfully quiet. Marcella looked around at the guests. This family has been insulted, secretly monitored, and accused without an opportunity to explain privately. You had 3 months to explain to Lily, I said. You chose Portuguese instead. Renato pointed toward me. You planned this public humiliation. Yes, I said. Several people looked surprised, including Lily. Part of me wanted witnesses. You had already begun describing me as controlling and confused by business. I wanted the truth in the same room as the story you were building. Lily stared at me. You planned this for weeks? Yes. And you let me keep planning my wedding? The hurt in her voice cut through every satisfaction I had felt. I was trying to protect you. By letting me choose flowers while you built a presentation, I needed certainty. You had certainty enough to call an attorney and investigate them. Lily, I asked you this morning whether you knew something. I could not defend the silence. You did. Yes, and you lied. I didn't answer. That is not better. She stepped away from me too. Suddenly, I understood the cost of becoming too focused on exposing the people who had deceived her. I had made her the final person allowed to know her own life. My motive was different. The injury contained a familiar shape. You're right, I said. The room remained silent. I should have told you privately as soon as the agreement arrived. I was afraid you would defend him. I was afraid they would turn you against me, and I was angry. I wanted them exposed where they could not rewrite it. I told myself this was entirely for you. It wasn't. Part of it was for me. Tears entered her eyes. I need to leave. I'll drive you. No. Rachel Moore, one of Lily's closest friends from graduate school, stood. I'll take her. Lily nodded. She walked out of the pavilion without looking back. Lucas started after her. Rachel turned. Do not. Something in her voice stopped him. The door closed behind them. I had protected my daughter from signing away her future and still managed to hurt her through the way I did it. No father receives moral purity simply because the people across from him are worse. The remaining confrontation felt empty after Lily left. I told Renato and Marcella their cottage reservation ended the following morning. They had the night because cold rain had begun, and I would not force anyone onto unfamiliar roads after drinking. A hotel in Asheville had rooms reserved if they preferred to leave immediately. I did not invoice them for food, demand payment for the visit, or contact immigration authorities, banks, clients, or the media. Their financial problems remained theirs. Their access to Cedar Hollow ended. Lucas asked whether he could stay long enough to speak with Lily. She decides whether you speak. You turned her against me. Your words did. You waited until the most damaging moment. Yes. Then don't pretend this was only protection. I'm not pretending anymore. He picked up the ring. She would have listened if you came to us privately. Would you have told her everything? Silence. Exactly. Renato accused me of xenophobia. Marcella said I had weaponized language and exploited cultural intimacy. Camila cried and insisted she had not known about the financial plan. One of the Vale associates quietly apologized to me before leaving. Renato told us Cedar Hollow had already been committed. He said, it was presented as part of Lucas's marriage arrangement. That sentence ended any remaining ambiguity. By midnight, the pavilion was empty. Candles burned low. Plates remained half cleared. My sister Rebecca found me sitting alone at the head of the table. You saved the farm, she said. I hurt Lily. Both can be true. Anna would have told her sooner. Yes. Anna also would have poured wine on Marcella. I laughed despite myself. Then I cried. Lily did not come home that night. She stayed with Rachel and Charlotte. She ignored Lucas's calls, my calls, and Marcella's messages. The Vales left Cedar Hollow at 7 the next morning. Marcella posted a photograph from the passenger seat of their rental car, showing rain across the windshield with the caption, "Some people fear global families because control feels safer than growth." Renato shared a quotation about prejudice hiding inside paternal concern. Lucas posted nothing. By afternoon, extended guests had begun asking what happened. I issued no statement. The wedding vendors received cancellation notices through the planner. I paid Cedar Hollow's employees for every scheduled hour because they had reserved the weekend. Deposits funded by Lily and Lucas were returned according to vendor policies. I did not use contracts to punish them. The wedding ended. That was consequence enough. Lily called me 4 days later. I'm safe, she said. Thank you. I'm not ready to see you. I understand. Do you? I'm trying. I keep replaying the dinner, not only what they said, what you did. I know. Why didn't you trust me? I trusted you to love him. That isn't the question. I closed my eyes. I did not trust you to believe me before I had enough evidence to make disbelief impossible. So you didn't trust my judgment? No. The word hurt to say and mattered because it was true. You treated me like I was too emotionally weak to receive the truth. Yes. Silence. They did the same thing, she whispered. Not for the same reason. I know. But everyone decided my future in rooms where I was smiling. I had no defense. I'm sorry. I need more than sorry. Tell me what. Stop asking me to make you feel forgiven. She ended the call. I began therapy the following week with a counselor named Ernest Bell, a man near my age who had no interest in comforting me through self-awareness. During our second session, he asked, "What did the public reveal give you that a private conversation would not?" Protection against denial. What else? Control. Over whom? The Vales. And Lily? I stared at him. Yes, you protected her from their plan and removed her ability to choose how the truth entered her life. What if she had stayed with him? Then she would have made a painful choice. I couldn't allow that. That is control. I'm her father. She is 29. He leaned forward. Your fear of losing her made you susceptible to Lucas's manipulation. It also made you susceptible to your own. Anna had understood me too well. I liked being useful. Protection gave grief a job. When Lily became an adult, I continued believing love meant staying positioned between her and danger. Lucas recognized that fear, mocked it, and used it. I answered by proving him right about one part. I was desperate not to lose my daughter. The difference was that I finally stopped pretending desperation, automatically made my decisions noble. Lily ended the engagement formally 2 weeks later. She met Lucas in a therapist's office with Rachel waiting outside. He admitted his family's financial problems, but insisted he had believed Cedar Hollow joining Vale House would benefit everyone. He admitted discussing Lily leaving her career because he assumed she would prefer travel and charitable work after marriage. He admitted calling her predictable and emotionally hungry. I thought wanting a complete family was one of the things I loved about you, he said. When did it become something you could use, she asked. He could not answer. He told her his parents had always made him responsible for rescuing Vale House. Marrying someone with stable family property had gradually become intertwined with loving her. I stopped knowing where one ended, he said. Lily replied, that is exactly why I cannot marry you. She returned the ring. Lucas left North Carolina. The relationship did not become fake simply because its foundation contained exploitation. That made grieving harder. He had comforted her after difficult cases. He remembered Anna's birthday. He cooked when Lily worked late. He had cried during the proposal. Human beings can offer real tenderness while allowing selfishness to govern decisions. Lily spent months separating the love she experienced from the safety she had imagined. She did not move back to Cedar Hollow, I offered. She said no. I need a home neither family can claim. She kept her apartment in Charlotte, returned to work, and took 4 weeks of leave after realizing she had been performing competence for everyone around her. She attended therapy. She stopped checking Vale family posts. She kept Anna's locket and placed the wedding dress in storage until she decided whether to donate or sell it. For the first month, she did not visit me. We spoke once a week for no more than 20 minutes, because that was the boundary she set. I accepted it even when silence felt unbearable. The urge to send long explanations was strong. Ernest made me write them and keep them in a drawer. An explanation can become another demand, he said. You want her to understand you so you feel less ashamed. I also want her to know I love her. She knows. That is why the betrayal hurt. During our 6th call, Lily said, I understand why you did it. Relief rose too quickly. She heard it. That is not forgiveness. I know. Do you? I'm learning. I'm angry that part of me is grateful. You can be both. I'm grateful you heard them. I'm grateful the property was protected. I'm grateful I didn't marry Lucas. I'm also furious you let me walk toward Thanksgiving believing the agreement was a family blessing. You should be. Stop agreeing because you think it proves growth. I almost smiled. Your therapist said that? Mine uses more professional words. Mine does not? A small laugh entered her voice. It was the first bridge. Cedar Hollow continued. I canceled every proposed luxury renovation. We restored the pavilion after the Thanksgiving dinner and resumed community events. Several couples asked whether the farm remained available for weddings. It did, under the same quiet terms. Vale House did not collapse immediately. Businesses rarely reward personal revelations with cinematic consequences. Renato refinanced one property, sold another, and brought in a new investor. The Savannah project ended. The family reduced its public image and described the changes as strategic. Marcella continued posting photographs about resilience. Their company survived in a smaller form. That outcome did not frustrate me. I did not expose their plan to destroy their livelihood. I stopped them from using ours. Lucas left the family business 18 months later. He sent Lily a letter first. She told me about it but did not share every line. He admitted he had confused responsibility toward his parents with permission to sacrifice her. He wrote, I believe loving you made it acceptable to plan the version of your life that solved my family's problems. When you resisted, I called it fear. When your father resisted, I called it control. I did not apply those words to myself. He did not request reconciliation. Lily replied once, Thank you for naming it. I do not want further contact. He respected that. Marcella did not. She sent emails describing Daniel Harper as a manipulative father who had used cultural knowledge to shame immigrants. Lily answered one message. You discussed my career, home, father, and financial value while I sat beside you. The language was private. The decisions were about me. Do not contact me again. Marcella stopped. Renato never apologized. Camila wrote 2 years later. She said she had known Vale House needed money but believed Cedar Hollow's involvement was voluntary. I laughed at comments about your father because refusing would have made me disloyal inside our family, she wrote. That does not excuse me. Lily thanked her but declined a relationship. Growth does not automatically receive access as payment. My own apology to Lily required more than words. I removed her from every informal Cedar Hollow responsibility she had inherited through being my daughter. She had managed retreat inquiries, rewritten website content, and offered professional advice for families with communication-disabled children without being paid because the farm would be hers one day. That phrase suddenly sounded too much like the Vale's logic. I hired professionals. When Lily later developed a communication access program for our family retreats, I paid her clinical consulting rate, she protested. This is family. Family is why I will answer at midnight. Work gets paid. She looked at me for a long time. You've been talking to someone, an expensive someone. We created written boundaries. Cedar Hollow remained mine. Lily would inherit through a protected plan eventually, but no future inheritance required present labor or loyalty. She was not responsible for keeping the farm because Anna loved it. She could sell, preserve, or decline involvement when the time came. I told her that. She cried. Mom asked you to keep it. She asked me, not you. Would you be hurt if I sold it one day? Probably. Then it's still pressure. My feelings are not instructions. That sentence became one of the most difficult lessons of my life. Our relationship repaired slowly. The first time Lily returned to Cedar Hollow, 7 months had passed. She arrived alone on a Saturday morning while I was repairing porch railings. I did not rush toward her. "Coffee?" I asked. "Please." We sat in the orchard beneath trees Anna planted. Lily looked toward the pavilion. "I still see the dinner." "Me too." "Do you regret it?" "I regret not telling you privately. I regret making the public exposure the first moment you learned. I do not regret stopping the agreement or naming what they did." "Would you do it differently?" "I would tell you the morning after the restaurant dinner. I would show you the document when it arrived. I would let you choose whether you wanted a confrontation, a quiet ending, or more information." "What if I stayed with him?" My stomach tightened. "I would tell you I believed it was dangerous. I would protect Cedar Hollow, and I would keep loving you without funding the danger." "Would you really?" "I hope so." "That isn't yes." "Then no." The man I was then would have tried to control the outcome. "I am working to become someone who could do better." She nodded. Honesty was less comforting than promises and more useful. "I forgive part of it," she said. "Thank you. Not all?" "You don't owe me all." We walked through the workshop afterward. She found the old child-sized stool Anna used when teaching her to sand wood. "Do you still have everything?" "Too much." Lucas's mother called this place cluttered. She lacked poetry. Lily laughed. Then she began crying without warning. I held my arms slightly open and waited. She stepped into them. We stood between work tables and cedar dust, while grief moved through her: the wedding, Lucas, Anna, the family she thought she was joining, and the father who had protected and betrayed her in the same evening. Repair does not occur when only one truth remains. It occurs when the relationship becomes strong enough to hold several. 3 years after the canceled wedding, Lily helped establish a small nonprofit program at Cedar Hollow, offering weekend retreats for families raising children with communication disabilities. Not charity photographs. Practical support. Speech therapists, occupational therapists, educators, and parents shared meals and workshops. Children had visual schedules, quiet rooms, adaptive play spaces, and freedom to communicate without adults apologizing for them. Lily directed the clinical program independently and was paid. We named it Listening House because Lily said many families did not need more advice. They needed someone to hear what daily life actually required. During the opening retreat, a father approached me near the workshop. His 9-year-old son used a communication device. "Your daughter created something special," he said. "She did. You must be proud." "Very." I did not say we created it. I had renovated rooms and built tables. Lily created the program. Specific credit was another form of love. I dated once during those years. Her name was Karen Bell, a landscape architect from Hendersonville. She liked Cedar Hollow but did not romanticize it. On our third date, I told her about Thanksgiving, including the part where I withheld the truth from Lily. "Most men would tell the story as though they were the flawless hero," she said. "I did for a while. Do you still need to be the hero?" "Less." We stayed together for nearly 2 years, then separated kindly because she wanted to move closer to her grandchildren in Oregon, and I was not ready to leave North Carolina. The relationship taught me that honesty early could prevent resentment later. It also taught me companionship did not have to become rescue. Lily eventually began dating a pediatric audiologist named Aaron Shaw. I met him after they had been together 8 months. He arrived at Cedar Hollow in an ordinary sedan, brought bread from a bakery rather than expensive wine, and asked Lily whether she wanted him beside her during the farm tour or whether she preferred time alone with me. I liked him immediately and distrusted that reaction because I had liked Lucas too. Aaron did not ask about land value, inheritance, or event capacity. He asked which tree Anna planted first. When he noticed the workshop, he waited for an invitation. During dinner, Lily mentioned that Aaron's parents lived in Ohio. "Do they know about Thanksgiving?" I asked. Aaron answered, "Only what Lily wanted to share." Good answer. I did not investigate him. I asked Lily whether she felt safe, listened to the answer, and accepted that adulthood involved risk. No father could remove without also removing freedom. Aaron proposed 2 years later in their Charlotte apartment. No photographer, no Cedar Hollow backdrop, no family jewelry. Lily called me afterward. "He asked whether I wanted you involved beforehand." I said no. "Good," she laughed. "Are you hurt?" "A little." "Thank you for saying it. My feelings are not instructions." "Your therapist earned his money." They married at a small botanical garden in Charlotte. 60 guests. Cedar Hollow was not the venue because Lily wanted a place untouched by the previous wedding. I understood. She wore Anna's locket. Aaron's parents sat beside me. There were no parent-controlled speeches, no partnership documents, no photographers arranging complete family pictures. During the reception, Lily asked whether I wanted to dance. Always. Halfway through the song, she said, "You know I didn't need you to save me from Aaron." "I know. I needed you to trust me enough to tell me the truth." "I know. But I'm still glad you understood them." "Both?" "Both." We finished the dance. Years later, people still ask about the moment I switched into Portuguese. The story spread among friends because humans enjoy a clean reversal. Arrogant family mocks blue-collar father. Father secretly understands. Scheme exposed. Wedding canceled. It sounds satisfying because the emotional lines are simple from a distance. Living inside it was not simple. I did not feel triumphant when Lily removed the ring. I felt relief and grief. I had prevented one kind of loss while creating another wound through my methods. Renato and Marcella were exploitative, but their wrongdoing did not make every decision I made wise. Lucas loved Lily in some ways and used her in others. Lily was intelligent and still vulnerable to manipulation. I was protective and still controlling. Multiple truths did not weaken the boundary. They made the lesson honest. I never signed the agreement. Cedar Hollow remained protected. Vale House's debts remained with the people who created them. The farm did not become a luxury resort. The cottages still hold teachers, grieving families, craftspeople, and children who need quieter rooms. The workshop still smells like sawdust and old finishes. Anna's orchard still blooms unevenly every spring. Some trees produce fruit. Some provide shade. A few became hollow and had to be removed before they fell. Restoration work teaches you that preserving everything is not the same as caring for a structure. You keep what can still carry weight. You reinforce what is weakened. You remove rot without pretending the missing section never existed. You do not paint over damage and call it history. Families require the same judgment. Lucas sent me one letter 5 years after the canceled wedding. He wrote in English, "I hated you for speaking Portuguese because it made me feel tricked, which is absurd considering what we were doing. I told myself you invaded our privacy. The truth is that we used language to create a room inside your home where we could disrespect you safely. You entered that room without permission because we had built it around your daughter. I am sorry." He admitted that he had loved my approval because it helped him imagine he was different from Renato. When financial pressure increased, I became exactly like him while continuing to perform being the man you trusted. He did not ask to see Lily. He did not ask for forgiveness. I replied, "Thank you for naming it. I wish you a better life." We never communicated again. Marcella continued telling a different story. Renato blamed market conditions for Vale House's downsizing. Camila eventually left the company. Their family did not collapse theatrically. People remain capable of building lives after doing harm. Consequence is not always destruction. Sometimes it is simply losing access to the people and resources you treated as available. The Vales lost Cedar Hollow, Lily, and the version of themselves reflected in our admiration. What they built afterward was no longer our responsibility. Last Thanksgiving, 9 years after the confrontation, Cedar Hollow hosted 24 people. Lily and Aaron came with their 2-year-old daughter, Anna Rose. My sister Rebecca brought pies. Josie and several employees joined. Rosa flew from Atlanta. Families from Listening House attended because travel home was difficult. We used long wooden tables beneath the pavilion. The table at which the agreement had once waited was still there, refinished but not replaced. One dark mark remained near the place where Lily set down the ring. I had tried sanding it out years earlier, then stopped. Damage does not need to disappear to stop controlling a room. Before dinner, someone suggested a photograph. I automatically stepped toward the phone. Lily handed it to Aaron and pulled me beside her. "You're not furniture," I laughed. She had never heard Marcella use that exact idea, but the meaning had survived. We used a timer. In the first photograph, Anna Rose looked away. In the second, I blinked. In the third, everyone laughed because the child stole a dinner roll before the camera flashed. That became the picture we kept. Nobody posted it without asking. Nobody wrote, "Complete family." The people absent were not erased. They simply did not have access to the table. During dinner, Anna Rose dropped a spoon and pointed toward me. Granddad fix. Everyone laughed. Lily looked at me. Careful. He likes being useful. Anna's old warning moved through the room gently now. I'm retired from emergency spoons, I said. I picked it up anyway. After dessert, Lily and I walked toward the orchard. The air smelled like cold grass and wood smoke. Do you still understand Portuguese? She asked. Mostly. Will you teach Anna Rose? Only if you and Aaron want. I do. Why? Because I don't want the language connected only to what happened. I looked toward the pavilion lights. Good. Also, she should know when people are talking about her. That is a family tradition now. She slipped her arm through mine. You know the strongest thing you did wasn't exposing them. What was it? Eventually admitting you were wrong too, I considered arguing. Then I accepted the gift. That was harder. I know. You sound like your mother. You say that whenever I'm right. She was right often. We stood beneath the oldest apple tree. Anna had planted it during a drought, watered it by hand, and refused to replace it when it failed to produce fruit for 4 years. Roots take time, she said. The tree now leaned slightly toward the creek and produced more apples than any other in the orchard. Self-worth took me nearly 60 years to understand. I once believed it meant refusing to let educated, wealthy people make me feel small. That was pride, not the whole lesson. Self-worth also meant not requiring Lily's dependence to prove I was a good father. It meant asking professionals for help when a document exceeded my knowledge. It meant hearing insults without allowing anger to choose every next move. It meant admitting that saving someone does not give you ownership of how she heals. It meant recognizing Cedar Hollow was valuable, not because banks could use it, but because lives happened there without needing to become luxury content. Most of all, it meant understanding that people who love you safely do not ask you to become smaller, quieter, poorer, or less connected to yourself, so their future becomes easier. The veil saw my hands and assumed calluses meant ignorance. They saw Lily's longing for family and assumed kindness meant weakness. They saw Cedar Hollow and assumed anything not maximized financially was waiting for smarter owners. They misunderstood all three. My hands knew when a structure could no longer carry weight. Lily's kindness survived because she learned to protect it. Cedar Hollow had already reached its highest value every time someone entered, believing they were too much and left understanding they had been heard. That is the ending I prefer. Not the frozen faces when I spoke Portuguese, not the ring beside the dessert plate, and not the financial agreement that remained unsigned. The satisfying ending is that Lily never had to abandon her career, her mother's locket, her father, or herself to become someone's wife. It is that I learned to protect without controlling. It is that our relationship became stronger after she was allowed to remain angry with me. It is that a table once prepared for exploitation now holds families who ask before entering and listen before deciding what another person needs. So here is the question I would ask anyone listening, because people still disagree about whether I protected my daughter or betrayed her trust through the way I exposed the truth. If you overheard your daughter's fiancé and his parents mocking her in a language they believed you could not understand, discovered they planned to use the marriage to gain control of your family property and pressure her out of the career she loved, but knew she might defend them. If confronted privately, would you reveal everything publicly before the wedding as I did? Or would keeping your daughter outside the plan until the final confrontation make you another person who decided her future without her?